Before we get to how we can use our imagination to connect to our higher selves, just a little bit of theory. So I want to just talk about premises because in when we create, in fact, when we live, we automatically live by certain premises. And so in a lot of conventional personal development, we get told about these laws, there's the law of opposites and the law of, oh my God, I've forgotten it. The one in The Secret, the law of attraction, the law of attraction and the law of paradoxical intent. There are all these laws, right? And when you call it a law, then the assumption is that it's a rule and you have to accept that rule and live by that rule. But a premise is something different. A premise is a foundational statement or an assumption or a piece of evidence which is used as the basis for a theory or an argument. And so a premise, like focus creates reality, is not a law unless it is true for you. And the only way that you can find out whether it's true for you is to actually test it out. And so premises give you choice and options because you might go, well, I think focus creates reality is a lot of bollocks. Well, I would say if you think that that's a premise, that is not a premise you want to adopt in your life, maybe you want to just try it out. And if once you've tried it out and you've done a little experiment on yourself and you discover that actually this is not true for you, then that's a premise that you can reject. And so premises give us freedom of choice. So focus creates reality, I personally think is an incredibly obvious premise, and it's true for me. And so if you consider, for example, an Olympic athlete, when an athlete wants to go to the Olympics, what are they thinking about? Winning a gold medal, going to the Olympics, not just going to the Olympics, winning the gold medal. What are they training for? Winning the gold medal. What is their training program geared to get there? Winning a gold medal. What do they do every day? Train in order to win a gold medal. What kind of psychological prepping do they have? Focusing on winning a gold medal. Now, you might say, yeah, well, actually, only one of them actually wins a gold medal in a particular event. True, but all of them are focused on getting there, all right? So when we are really focused on a project, then we generally take steps in the direction of creating it. So focus creates reality is a basic tenet or a premise that you can either adopt or not adopt. It's a premise that I believe is true, and I invite you to try out the premise for yourself. So I'm not just going to leave you hanging with the premise, right? So what are you going to focus on? Okay. So there are two streams of consciousness that are operational all the time. You've got your rational or conscious mind, and we can call this the lower mind. We can call this the rational mind. It's part of your ego. It's part of your ego. It's your rational thinking mind. It's the part of your mind that you're using right now to understand and sort of process what I'm telling you. And then we have the superconscious, the higher mind, or the spirit. And the superconscious, the higher mind, or the spirit is that part of us that is connected to the divine. It's the divine within us. So I like to use the terms ego and spirit. Some people prefer to use lower mind and higher mind. I always think lower mind sounds like it's the dumbass one, and higher mind sounds like it's the smart one, which makes one bad and one good. But a lot of people think egos are bad. I don't, okay? So just know that neither of these are good or bad. They're just two aspects. They're two streams of consciousness that are constantly operational. Now, because our primary limiting beliefs and our fears and all our survival strategies are part of our rational mind and the ego, by default, in order to keep us alive, our focus is consciously or unconsciously on that. It's actually on the rational or conscious mind. So if we want to create from our spirit or our higher mind, we need to shift our focus from one stream of focus to the other. And here's the thing, that your subconscious is what governs and controls your autonomic nervous system. And your autonomic nervous system governs and controls your endocrine system, your immune system. It affects your nervous system. It basically affects all the systems in your body. Your digestive system are all run and regulated through your autonomic nervous system. And your subconscious runs your autonomic nervous system. And in fact, your autonomic nervous system connects to the parts of your brain that help you make decisions and choices and then take actions. So, and your subconscious carries out commands like a faithful servant without questioning where your focus is. So unless, and it doesn't go, oh, this message is coming from Loretta's ego, it's a bad message, we're not going to do this. And this is coming from Loretta's spirit, it's a good message, we are going to do this. It's just like, which stream of consciousness is actually getting the most attention? And that's the one that feeds most into the subconscious, and the subconscious is going to respond to that. All right. So because by default, our focus is on survival, what keeps us alive, our focus is ultimately on what we believe to be true about ourselves. Our foundational limiting beliefs. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I need to be perfect, I need to be in control, whatever they are. All right. And so it is our job to recognize where is our focus, and then to choose which stream of consciousness are we choosing to put our focus. Do we want to create from our ego, or do we want to create from our spirit? You're going to get different results, not good or bad, just different results. Okay. So if we look at the ego, as I said, this is your rational or lower mind. If you look at the spirit, it's the higher mind or the super consciousness. Your ego communicates to you through your thoughts and your feelings. And it's based on fear, because it's based on keeping you safe. So it is preventing you from getting into danger. It's fear-based. It's doing whatever it needs to do in order to maintain the status quo. This is one of the reasons why people can get trapped in what looks like extremely negative situations, like an extremely abusive relationship, for example, and they stay in that situation. There's no judgment here. They stay in that situation because even though this is not a situation that serves them, it's what they're comfortable with, because this is what they believe they need to do for safe. It's safer in that situation than it is out of that situation. So it's fear-based, and it communicates through our thoughts and feelings. So now that I say thoughts and feelings, you guys I'm hoping starting to think, oh, that's set A, right? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And based on my thoughts and feelings, what is the action that I want to take? So your spirit or higher mind is accessed through your imagination. I almost said your immuniation. I was going to say your immune system. It's accessed through your imagination, and it communicates via intuition. Now, I don't know about you, but, after the age of about, 3 or 4, my imagination wasn't really encouraged. In fact, the more rational I was, the more validation I got. And in fact, that's what the school system does. So even if you get a lot of validation for having imagination, when you go to school at 5 or 6, you're not encouraged to be dreaming of fairies and fantasy lands. You're encouraged to be doing, whatever you need to do in terms of the curriculum, right? So for many of us, it's difficult to actually even exercise our imagination. And we access our spirit through our imagination. We've got to go to that childlike, innocent part of us to access it. But now, like anything else, it can be learnt, and it can be improved through practice. And once we access our spirit through our imagination, then our spirit communicates to us via our intuition. And so sometimes, what a lot of people call intuition, well, this is the difficulty with intuition, because it's like, well, is it my ego or is it my intuition? So if I have to ask myself that question, I go, okay, I'm not taking any action. I got to wait until I'm at least more sure that it's one than the other. Okay. And our spirit or higher mind is love-based. Now, this is not smushy, namaste, light and love-based. Okay. It is, what would you love? Not what do you want in order to feel safe? What do you desire in order to be more confident? It's, what is your spirit? What would your spirit love to express through you in this lifetime? It's quite a big question, right? But honestly, it's not rocket science, okay? So there are ways that we can access this through sufficient practice. So we've always got an option of keeping our focus on our ego or shifting it into our spirit. And here's the good news, because your default setting is that your focus is always going to be on your ego, you don't have to be 100% in your spirit constantly in order to create what you love. You just need to be in your spirit 51% of the time. It's just got to be more than the 49% of the time that you're in your ego. It's just got to tip the scale slightly in the direction of the spirit, because that's when the momentum starts being created for you to create from your spirit. So, oh no, end of those slides. So I'm going to stop the share of the slides. And now we're going to do it, right? So for those of you who have known me for a long time, you guys are experts at set A and set B, but we could always do with a reminder, right? I was going to say, especially me. This morning, I tried to do a set B. I got sweet Zippo. But that's okay, because an hour later, I did it again, and then I got something else. So, you can't mess this up, right? And it just requires practice. So when we did set A, just a quick recap on set A. Set A is how you define what's really going on with you right now. The truth, all right? I'm feeling fat and ugly. I hate my body. Oh my God, I'm such a failure. Why am I such an undisciplined pig that eats too much? Whatever. If you're thinking about your body and you're having those kind of thoughts about your body, right? Sometimes your current reality can contain some positive thoughts too. It can be like, well, I'm just like the bomb.com. You can hear that that's just as egotistical as I'm actually a useless piece of garbage, right? So set A is the truth of where you are right now. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what is it making me want to do? So what I would like you to do, before I give you another little explanation, before we go into set B, is I want you to think of something in your life that's currently frustrating to you. It can be little. It can be like a small thing, okay? Whatever it is. It can be a big thing, if you like. But like whatever it is that's frustrating for you, something that you would love to change, something that's working on your nerves. We're just going to do this quick. And I want you to just quickly, if you can, you can jot them down. But just like when you think about that thing, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings, and what does it make you want to do? If you do this actually in real time, it's going to help you connect to your spirit easier. I'm not trying to push you into doing the exercise, but honestly, it does help, right? So you could do this on this evening. You could do it on what I've just said. You might be like, oh my God, Loretta's so full of herself. I wish she'd just shut up. Why isn't she getting to set B? What the hell? Blah, blah. Got so many other things to do, right? What does it make you feel frustrated and irritated? What does it make you want to do? Oh, makes me just not want to be here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like pretend for the next hour and just grit my teeth and get through it. I've done that many times. That's often my set A when I go to a workshop or something. I'm like, why did I sign up for this? Oh, this is so much of my time. Could be doing something else. That's set A. Okay. What is it? What are you thinking? What is it making you feel? And what is it making you want to do?
Can I add something, Loretta? What does it make you want to do isn't always an action, like leave the
100%.
group or shout at your husband. It could be, for example, for me, it's rumination. Like if I feel I'm thinking some thought, then often I have anxiety on the back of that, and that loops then into rumination, like this perpetual thought looping. So it's not always an action like overeating or
100%.
kicking the dog.
Yes. It can also be something like withdrawing. I mean, if we want to split hairs, then rumination is actually an action. But I think what you're saying is it's always a doing thing. So, like you can actually physically see it happening. It can be the kinds of thoughts you're thinking also can be part of it, right? It can be self-flagellation and punishment when you're doing the thinking. It can be like numbing. It can be disassociating. It can be,
Association.
yeah, it can be withdrawing, It can just be taking your energy out of a situation. So any one of anything that it prods you to do is what I mean by the action. But thank you for clarifying that, because yeah, sometimes people
And
think
that
the
can be
physical
quite
touch.
subtle, actually. Like
100%.
sometimes I find myself irritable and I almost go backwards in this. I go, okay, what was I thinking?
Mm.
What was I feeling? That I'm now feeling very irritable over just about nothing.
Mm.
So I don't know if you ever do it backwards or
I do. So very often I don't catch myself in the thinking. Sometimes, so listen, if you're good at feeling, you'll catch yourself in the feeling. Antoinette's good at feeling. I'm not particularly hot in the feeling department, so I catch myself usually in the action. So, for example, I will be doom scrolling on social media. That's an action. And I'll ask myself, okay, what am I not getting? What do I want right now that I'm not getting? Because this is usually triggered by a need that isn't being met, right? Or what have I been thinking about? Before I took up the phone, what was I thinking? I was thinking like, oh, I'm so tired. I wish this day was over. I've got, I don't know, 6 more clients, blah, 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 whatever I was thinking made me feel frustrated, anxious, and overwhelmed. And so I just wanted to clock out. That would be the doom scrolling. So if you can catch yourself in the thinking, you styling, because it's easier to change it there, right? But many of us can't catch ourselves in the thinking. So some of us can catch ourselves in the feeling. So if you're irritable or you're really sad or yesterday I was like, just suddenly in the morning, I was just so sad. And I was like, oh, okay, like what is actually going on? And then I realized I was sad because I'd been thinking about something that I thought I was dealing with. But the truth is, I hadn't allowed myself to feel the feeling. So I caught myself in that feeling, right? So you can actually catch yourself at the thinking, the feeling, or the doing. Many of us miss the thinking and feeling part. And that's why the action is so important. So if you feel yourself wanting to withdraw, you don't even have to go to what was I thinking, what was I feeling. When you notice the action, you're like, oh my God, okay, I'm already in the action. So where is my focus right now? My focus is on my ego. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just a question. It's like, where are you on the GPS? Okay, my focus is here because I'm doing that thing that I always do. I'm in my pattern, right? That thing I'm trying to protect myself against whatever. Okay. All right. So now you've got today. So when we started this evening, and I've done it once before, I asked you to imagine the top of your skull being filled with light, and then, the base of your skull lifting off your spine, and the little thing with your shoulder blades and your collarbones. That is part of the Alexander technique that was taught to us by Gary Ramsay. And this is my understanding. So this is the Loretta interpretation, who's not an Alexander technique practitioner, right? Is that what the Alexander technique does is it helps to align our spine. So it aligns your cervical spine, it opens your thoracic spine, it aligns the base of your spine, it opens your pelvis. And in opening your spine, it allows not only the nerves that move through your spine to operate and be freed, but the spine represents the physical expression of the divine in the body. This is not just in Alexander technique. This is in Jin Shin Jyutsu. This is in some of the other Eastern traditional medicines. The spine is the representation of our direct connection to source. So the spine allows when the spine is aligned, it allows the light of the spirit to move more freely within the body, and it allows us to connect more easily to the light of the spirit.
Yeah, Gary said we did a whole episode, so if I can just add, it's such a simple technique. It seems too simple. So Loretta and I both said, oh, this is a crock of shit. But you'll find if you use it, it's incredible. It seems to set the body free. And Gary said when the body's free and easier, it's much easier to access spirit and bring through higher self or God self.
100%. And in actual fact, in an interesting little snippet, the guy who invented chiropractic, he called it a subluxation, right? When there was like a when the spine wasn't aligned, and he said because it's under the light. Lux is light, right? Subluxation. So it's under the light, and when you align the spine, you allow the light to come through. Same thing, right? Different technique, same philosophy. So when we do that simple spinal alignment, we open not only our nerves, the nerves moving through the spine, but we literally we involve the body in helping us to connect to the divine. That's good for your posture. It helps your muscles to relax. It does all sorts of other wonderful things. And when your spine is aligned, energetically, you rebalance actually your energy body also. So, if you've got major imbalances in your energy body, you've got to do this a lot. And it's not the only thing, but it really does help. So that is the Alexander technique to align the spine. John DeMartini had this really cheesy thing that he said. It was his elevator pitch. He's a chiropractor, right, by profession. He said, I align, I help my patients align with the divine through the spine or something like that. I was like, well, okay, that's what he believed he was doing when he was doing, I've messed it up, right? But it was something like that. It was like really like American and cheesy and the kind of thing that you would say to someone in an elevator, I align people with the divine by aligning their spine or whatever the case may be. He wasn't wrong, all right? So when we do this Alexander technique, before we actually use our imagination to access our spirit, it actually helps us to do it. We use the body rather than being hindered by it. That makes sense, okay? So we are going to do set B. So set B is an imaginative little exercise, and you can use different visuals, but I'm just going to use the visual that is my favorite, all right? And at the end, I'll give you the different visuals if you want to. So some people find it easier if you use visual X, and some people you find it easier if you use visual Y. Usually when I do it now, I don't use any of the visuals that I'm going to tell you about, only because I've been doing it for a long time, right? So there's all sorts of ways that you can do it, and I'll give you some of the permutations. So without any further ado, I want you just, before we do this, I want you to just once again think of whatever it is that you just did set A on, whether you did it in your mind or you wrote it down on a piece of paper, right? And I want you to just for a minute run through the thoughts. How do those thoughts make you feel? And what does it make you want to do? Okay. So now you can put that down. Just get yourself comfortable. You can do this whether you're lying down or sitting, it doesn't matter. You don't necessarily have to be straight. It obviously helps if you can be straight, either flat, lying flat, or sitting up. But whichever position you're in is fine for now, right? So let's just close our eyes. Take another deep breath. And as we exhale fully, just allow the body to relax. And now once more, take your awareness to the base of your skull and just imagine the base of your skull becoming lighter, infused with light, becoming lighter and lighter and lighter until it's so light that it just floats off the top vertebra. Then take your awareness to your collarbones. And just using your mind, imagine your collarbones moving out to the side through the tops of your shoulders, the sides of your shoulders actually, stretching your collarbones across your body. Then take your awareness to your shoulder blades. And using your imagination, imagine moving your shoulder blades down and out to the side. And now take your awareness to your hips. And just imagine the ball of your hip joint slightly moving away from the cartilage in the socket of your hip. And imagine your hips moving to the side, broadening sideways. Now I want you to imagine you're standing in front of a hot air balloon. And the hot air balloon is fully inflated. It's tethered to the ground. And the pilot is a divine. It's an angel. So you're going to be 100% safe in this hot air balloon, guaranteed. And the angel beckons you over. And as you step into the basket, you feel yourself stepping out of your thoughts and your feelings and your strategies and your stories. You step into the basket, into the presence of this beautiful angelic being. And the burners are fired up, the tether is released, and the hot air balloon takes off, and it rises up, 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 up. And as it rises, you start feeling lighter and lighter. And it rises higher and higher, and you feel your consciousness expanding more and more. And it rises higher and higher. You rise up out of the physical things that keep you bound, your thoughts, your feelings, your stories, and you rise higher and higher and higher. And as you do that, you feel more open, you feel more free. Your consciousness feels like it's expanding, and now you feel as if you are connected to all the particles of the atmosphere. You're high up in the air, floating higher and higher and higher. And as you rise higher and higher and your consciousness expands more and more, you realize that you are now connected to your infinite spirit. And the balloon rises higher and higher, and it catches an updraft. The pilot turns off the burners, and now it's quiet. And it rises higher and higher and higher and faster and faster. And you feel open. You feel connected to all things. You feel expansive. You feel excited and joyful. You're connected to the limitlessness, to the vastness of who you really are, of your spirit. And as you rise higher and higher, you feel yourself connected to all things, as if you're connected to every particle in the cosmos, to all things throughout time and space. And you're connected to the beautiful limitlessness of your divine spirit. And the hot air balloon rises, and it comes to a standstill, and in front of you is a beautiful circle of golden light, massive, more than big enough for this balloon to move into. And this circle represents your spirit's point of view, your spirit's vision for that issue that you thought about earlier. And there's a fine golden mist around the circle. And as that balloon drifts into the golden mist, that fine golden mist washes over and through you and takes away all your thoughts and your feelings and your misgivings and your fears. What if I don't see anything? Oh my God, what if this doesn't work? It all just washes out of you, leaving you open, curious like a young child on Christmas morning, excited to see what your spirit's vision is. And with that sense of open curiosity, the balloon floats into this beautiful circle of golden light, your spirit's vision, whatever it is you did set A on, your spirit's point of view, the alternate stream of consciousness. Now, as you're in that circle, just look around you. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, it's calm. And as you look around you, you might see a symbol. You might see in your mind's eye a scene. You might see an object. It might pop into your mind as a picture, completely unrelated to anything else. If you do see a scene or a symbol, just ask yourself, without any judgment, what does this mean when I look at this? What comes to me? When I look at this object or the scene, how does it make me feel? If, as you look around, you can't see anything, just ask yourself, in relation to whatever it is you did set A on, what would you love? What would your spirit love? And then let your imagination run free. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't matter if there's a question in your mind around it. Just allow yourself to surrender to the process. And as you connect to whatever that vision is or whatever it is that you imagine, connect to how it makes you feel. How do you feel here in this circle? What are the feelings that come up for you? And then ask yourself, in this circle, experiencing these feelings, what does this make you want to do? Your mind may be chattering, it's okay. Just go with whatever's obvious for you. Whatever's right in front of you. Now, I want you to imagine the balloon drifts out of the circle and it slowly starts drifting down, 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 through all the layers of the cosmos, down through all the layers of the atmosphere. Now you're moving down through the clouds, gently, guided by that angelic pilot, drifting down, 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 until it gently settles on the earth. You step out of the basket and back into your current reality. You feel your body supported by whatever you're sitting on. You become aware of your breath entering and leaving through your nostrils. You can take a deep breath in and exhale fully if you wish. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and come back to waking consciousness. So we can discuss the experiences that we've had. But before we do that, I just want to say one last thing about this. This particular process is designed to help you shift your focus from your egoic reality to your spirit. It's not a cure-all. It's not going to align you with your nature and purpose necessarily. It's not going to solve all your problems. We use this when you realize that you are in your pattern, or when you're unhappy about something, or you're frustrated, when you're experiencing some sort of negative emotion, when you can see that you're in your pattern and you realize, ugh, my focus is on my egoic reality, and I choose to shift it. That's what it's designed. It does a whole lot of other things, but actually this is its primary purpose. Okay? And it doesn't always make you feel amazing. It's actually not there to make you feel amazing. It's there to give you the other perspective. So imagine the set A is the bottom of the parachute, right? Set B is the top of the parachute. But instead of doing the parachute process like we do with Google, and we Google it and you're actually just stepping into using your imagination for it, right? So they're not doing exactly the same thing. It's just that they've got similarities, they're connections between them, okay? So it is there to give you the alternate point of view, and then you get to choose. Do you want to take the action that is driven by your thoughts and feelings of your ego? Or do you want to take the action, if you did get an action that was inspired by what you experienced in set B? And listen, I've done this before, right? When it's an issue of mine, I've been like, I really want to eat the chocolate. I know I only want to eat the chocolate when I'm anxious and overwhelmed. I do set A on eating the chocolate. I step into set B. I see my beautiful, strong body, la, 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 la. I shift my focus. I get out of set B. I go, fuck it, I'm going to eat the chocolate anyway. And you know what? Then I eat the chocolate consciously. So you cannot do this wrong. Please, I just don't want you to think that it's like, okay, well, set A is the bad guy. Set B is the good guy. God help me if I take an action from set A. Because it's all about cultivating your awareness, right? And the more you practice it, the more you really start connecting to your spirit. In my experience is the more you start taking the action that is guided by your intuition that you sometimes get when you shift your focus. Sometimes you get no action. If you get no action, my advice is do nothing. Definitely try not to do the thing that set A is making you want to do. Like if you cannot do that, great. If you can do that consciously, not bad. If you can just do nothing under those circumstances, just wait, right? Until it becomes obvious for you to take an action. Okay, I've been banging on forever. I'm going to be quiet now. Thank you very much, everybody. Antoinette, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Simone's got a question, I think. Loretta, do you want to do that now or after I finish?
Simone, can we start the share and then you can ask your question once we've like officially started the sharing circle? I think, is that going to be okay? Okay, cool.
I just really want to add my own personal experience because sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, and it can take a lot of practice to do processes like this. So I did a similar process when I had cancer in 2017. The stakes were high and I was in a lot of trouble on many levels. So I found a similar process from Anita Majani, and I'll never forget one day. In fact, Amy, you and Brian invited me to go to some market, but I'd had my chemo and it was one of my final results to see if my cancer had gone. And the specialist decided he was going on holiday for 10 days. It was Easter or something. So I was not going to get my results in the normal 2 or 3 days. And when I was in a set A, I didn't know what am I thinking, what am I feeling. But Anita Majani said, can you feel what you're feeling? And then, be in that reality and then go to the opposite. And actually, there was a visual I did in one of our info sections where I split that line. It's a thin line between the ego and the God line, So it's kind of, we use our minds actually and our imagination, if we can, to switch, to make a conscious switch. So that day, I'll never forget lying on the floor I was so terrified because I thought this cancer's going to still be there. It was sitting at the top of my spine. There would be no more money to pay for any more treatment. I'd had a 6 months off work. I had to go back to work. You know how that disaster zone happens in your mind. And I definitely can't go to the market because I'm too sick. I'm going to be too stressed and everything's a fuck up here because this cancer is going to be there and my whole life's over. I have no idea where to go next. And then I must have heard the Anita Majani thing and I was like, no, you know what? That's my reality. And what it makes me want, it's not even sometimes what it consciously makes you want to do. It would make me feel really, really sick, So I was like, no, my friends have invited me to the market. I'm not going to get my results anyway. And I said to my body, I want to go to that market. And I'm going to wait for my results, and the disaster zone's going to wait till after that. I'm going to go and have some fun with my friends. Because I think all of us on this group also know that's also our best potential medicine to heal a cancerous tumor. And I did that, and I had a really good time with you guys. And of course, 10 days later, my results came back clear. So now can you imagine I would have looped around in that terror and fear and horror stories and disaster zone in my head, which my head is so good at to this day. So that's when I first started using it. And I just wanted to add something Loretta and I agreed we would add, because I'm a person who, even now, but especially 9 years ago, I could not access imagination. I could not have a visualization. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't feel, but there was a book in the chemo room that had been based on some neuroscience, and it said that if you can visualize with feeling your healing in your physical body, like, I can't remember, it went through a whole process. It actually can work, but you've got to somehow get the feeling with it. So I started this visualization process with my body because I was desperate and I had tumors right here at the top of my spine. The stakes were high. But it was so frustrating in the beginning because I couldn't stay out of my head in the chirpy, and I couldn't be in that zone I wanted to be in, like fully in my body and doing the visualization. And I was asking my body, what do you need? And I was trying to imagine myself healthy. And then my mind kept on saying, what a crock of shit. Let me just get out of this freaking bed and blah, blah, blah. But I actually just really pushed through. Some days it didn't work. That's the other thing to know. Some days my visualization was a crock of shit. I couldn't see anything, feel anything. My mind just wada-wadded, but a freaking well did it. And I did it the next day and the next day and the next day. And that's what happens when the stakes are very high. But if we can just practice, and not be too worried when it so-called fails or it's not working. And eventually the most astounding stuff started happening, because I also realized I didn't have true faith. I had no true faith in God. It was all intellectual. My unconscious wanted to die. I was just in shit. But in the end, I started getting these spontaneous visualizations. My body started speaking to me. My little wounded fetus in the wound trauma, my mother's womb trauma, started presenting itself. I'm not lying, I mean me. Then I started visualizing. I was told I must visualize the life I want. So I had a reason to live. I had no shit idea what I wanted, because all I knew is I wanted to be happy, and I'd never been happy. But I decided on 5 factors that for me would make a good life. Have my feet on the sand on a beach, because I wasn't living by the sea. Drinking wine in those days, having a lacquer man I was leaning back against, swimming in the sea uninhibited, without feeling self-conscious, not being scared of the dolphins or the waves, running on the beach, healthy and vibrant, and then having this lacquer crowd of people. And I had to make that up. You can use your mind to help your spirit. Use your mind and your body. So I was just like, okay, I'm on a beach. I can't feel this, but there I am, blah, blah. Eventually, I could feel the whole thing, the excitement, the health. And then one day, just one day like that whole vision expanded to something completely different. I saw where I was living. I didn't know what I was doing or where it was. I saw the place. I saw the room I was sitting in. I knew there was a dog in the house with me. And I actually think it's this room I'm sitting in now. I saw this whole, I felt my life. It's more about, and so I just want to encourage you that if you can just keep going, even if I didn't even really believe in God then, but I knew there was a God, just keep on doing this stuff, even when it doesn't feel like it's working, because the body also knows, hey Loretta, and our higher self knows, I think, that we're just doing that action, and we're so hard on ourselves. We're don't celebrate the small wins. We're I didn't do it right today. So, I would just think, if I can end up doing it, and today sometimes I still struggle with it. Sometimes I lie in bed at night and I have such crippling self-doubt or anxiety, and then, I don't know if this is part of this, but we agreed I'd share it. I do one simple little thing. Put my hand on my chest, or sometimes I hold myself like this and I say, what if everything is just okay? That's simple. What if everything is okay? It's all going to be okay. And what if this isn't even the truth that I'm thinking? Because half the time I'm disaster worrying. And it's all okay. And I touch my heart. It's very important to connect with your body, I think. It's astounding how, or you can just say, I know who I really am. I'm a child of God. It's astounding how quickly, Loretta can probably focus on 2 breaths and change her consciousness. So with that, Loretta, should we open a sharing space?
Yes, I just want to say one last thing about this, and that is that when you do any tool or technique, you're actually giving your subconscious a message already. So the mere fact that you are choosing to connect to your spirit is saying to your subconscious, I'm choosing to connect to my spirit. Regardless of what you get, whether you get nothing or whether you feel it, the act of actually doing the thing, whether it's set A, set B, praying, what if it's all going to be okay? The act of doing the tool is already sending a message to your subconscious of what it is that you're choosing.
And the brain doesn't know the difference between truth and reality, as Simone and you who study brain. So we have to tell our brain stuff that it maybe doesn't necessarily believe unconscious. And by the way, prayer is something, even when I felt I couldn't connect with God and I didn't think I really believed, boy, have I prayed a lot. Cool. Loretta, did you want to add anything?
No.